endless skies. Oh, I'm living that nomad life, city to city, feeling alive. From mountain tops to ocean drives, unchained, I thrive,
Sounds good. Oh, welcome to the Nomads 50 Plus podcast. I'm Chris Kalaboukis, and I'm coming at you from a very cold Northern California.
And I am Mary Bartnikowski, and I've been full-time traveling for 19 years. And I am in the center of UNESCO World Heritage Site in Syracuse, Sicily.
Nice. Again, the Italian one, not the American one.
The Italian one. So they say Syracuse.
Siracusa?
Yes.
Siracusa? So like with a Q, like a Q-U,
Uh,
Siracusa.
Well, no, they say it like Syracuse.
Siracusa.
But they
So
say
I've
it
been
better
saying it
than
wrong
me.
all this time.
I say things wrong every day. And they
But if I
don't
were to go to
seem
Syracuse, New York, and started calling it Siracusa, would they like laugh at me?
they'd
Probably,
laugh
right?
at, yeah, it wouldn't fly.
So today we want to talk a little bit about what you should do before you start, right? Because
Okay.
there's a lot of people out there who are thinking hard about doing something like this because I mean, I think it's amazing. It's a wonderful life, but there's still things you have to do to prepare for the journey, right? Because some people just want to just jump into it. They'll say, oh, let's go ahead. Boom. Let's go do it. Let's go go somewhere else and just jump in with both feet, which you've done before, right?
Well, there was a lot of preparation when I knew, I was thinking about that. There was a lot of preparation when I knew that I wasn't going to keep a home base in the United States.
But you
So that
actually,
was
but
totally
so,
different.
so when you first started, you didn't think you weren't going to keep a home base, right? You just sort of said,
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Yeah. I just said I went for a 2.5 month trip to India, Nepal, and Bali. And we talked about that last time. And then the next trip was 6 months in South America, overland through 6 countries. And then after that one, I was like, I gotta make the next one longer.
Right.
And the next one
See,
was 10
see,
months.
to some people, I think to most people, they're probably thinking, how the hell can I get away for that long? Right? Because they're like,
Oh,
everyone's stuck in
okay.
these jobs.
Okay.
And they're like, I can't even imagine leaving my house for a week or a day or 2 weeks because everyone's like a lot of people, especially if they're full-time workers, they're in the 2 weeks a year, 3 weeks a year mindset. You know,
You know,
how do you get yourself out of that mindset?
let's start there because that is a huge thing. So for me, having my own business, it got a lot slower in the winter. So that was the natural time that I would take.
Right.
However, what I would recommend to people if they're considering this kind of lifestyle is to definitely do at least a month-long trip and
Mm,
not get paid for it. Like take your 2 weeks if you get paid for those and then take another 2 weeks because you really can't do it in 2 weeks. You need more
mm.
time.
Yeah. 2 weeks is definitely not enough to do almost anything, right? Unless you want to putter around your house. If you want to actually
Exactly.
travel and do something, you need at least a month, no matter where you go.
Absolutely.
And
So if you're,
what is it about a month that makes it magic?
well, okay, so I've been here a month. It's been
Hmm.
actually a month since I left California. And I'll tell you, I am just now, even after all these years, kind of settling in to going and get my groceries every day at the different places that you do in Europe. You get the bread this place, the cheese over here, and I love it. It's
Mm.
slower. I'm not driving. I'm not looking for a parking place. I like it this way. I mean, it's just, you're finally getting this different kind of lifestyle that you don't get in the United States. And so what I'm saying is with a month, you need time to actually kind of relax into it and see what it might be like and see if it jives with what you want out of life. Like some people, like I have a friend in Florence and she doesn't know why I like this little town on the north side where I'm going next so much. She doesn't think there's enough museums there. or or things happening, and I
Right.
love it. It's perfect for me. So the thing is, you have to get a place that makes sense for you, that has enough going on, and you don't know that in a couple of days.
Right. And it's interesting you should mention that because it makes me think that we do things too quickly too often. Right? I mean, we whistle through
Absolutely.
things. We spend a day here, we spend a day there, we spend a day here, we spend a day here. We barely even get a taste of the place. Right? So that's
Oh,
what happens.
I'm
I mean, have you seen those around the world cruises? Like
oh,
$60,000, 6 months, and you basically stay in each place for like a day or 4 hours or whatever. And it's like, how can you get any kind of experience of a place if you're only going to stay for a few hours? And even a few days isn't really long enough,
no,
right?
it's not. And in fact, I'm in all these Facebook groups about traveling in Europe and Italy, and they're all like all these people like, oh, my first time to Europe, I'm going to go to Paris, Berlin, Rome, Florence, Spain in 2 weeks. And I'm just
That's
like,
it.
they really,
It's all about quantity. How many people, how many places can I pack in the same at the same time?
it's so exhausting to move. I'm so relaxed now that I don't like, I've only been in this apartment, what, 10 days, and I'm so much more relaxed, and I won't have to leave until March 1st. And I
Yeah.
love it. And then you can, going back to the month thing, you can start to know what it's like. You find the things in your neighborhood. Maybe you're going to even live in this neighborhood.
Yeah. Well, how do you get over that initial thing where people are always in this go, go, go short-term mode? I mean, how do you get over that? Is it, I mean, I feel it was hard for me to do that because I used to spend a week here, a week there, but then it's like when you go to Europe, especially from California, when you go to Europe, when you go to Asia, it's such a long trip just to get
Oh,
there,
yeah.
right? And then if you're only going to spend a week or 2 weeks, it just takes you almost that much time to just recompress or decompress and recompress, or yeah, just decompress to the point where you're like, okay, now I'm on vacation, or now I'm enjoying myself, or now I'm here, right? How do people get over that short-termism?
You know what? That is a huge topic right there, because you have to actually work on that to let go and get over the United States. And that's why it takes more time. And I find
Right.
anytime I leave the United States, it's going to take me at least 2 weeks to get out of that headspace.
Yeah.
And so I've only learned just from practice, like of
Mm.
going someplace and doing too much and then coming back unfulfilled because it was too short. But as soon as I decided to take longer trips, then I was like, oh, this is really a lot more fun. I'm starting to meet people. I'm starting to go to the same grocery store. Like, I think you just have to experiment with it. Maybe get a massage as soon as you land. I just had one the other day. It helped
I like that.
immensely.
And
Yeah.
you can get massages anywhere in the world, wherever you are. It's not a specific thing to a specific country. Every place, every country, every place has someone who can give massages,
Yeah.
right?
And I found a wonderful person and walked over there. It was right around the corner from where I am. She was lovely. She spoke enough English. Boy, I have a different attitude. So, I mean, I think there's things you have to do to slow down. Like, I had to get out of it too. Like, I was mainlining cheese and, eating too much gelato and croissants. Now I've calmed down. I don't even drink every day. Like, I got to get some stuff
You
done.
you
I mean,
can't
I'm
you
still
can't you have to have
working.
gelato every day. I mean, when I was in Rome, I had to have gelato at least once a day. At
It's
least
so
once a day.
good. It's so
And
delicious.
finding new places was the best. It's like I kept going, oh, how about this one? How about that one? How about this one? How about that? Eventually I found the perfect one. I just kept going back to that one over and over
Yeah.
again. But it takes time. And see, I think that's a huge stumbling block for a lot of people is the whole time, the amount of time required. Because
The
I think
amount,
there's this disconnect between how much time we think is required and how much time is actually required. And once you get over that hump, then you realize, none of my travel should be less than a month to any particular
none.
place. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And in
And
fact,
it's,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was
No, no,
just going to say whenever it's less, I end up going, oh, I wish I could be here another week or 2 weeks.
So in order to prepare for that, so your suggestion is should you is it worthwhile to go somewhere for less than that amount of time just to get a taste of it? Or should you basically say, you know what, I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to figure out some way of organizing this so I'm there for a month.
Well, okay. I know that's difficult because I couldn't. I mean, the first time I took that 2.5 month trip, I still went to 3 countries, which I don't recommend, but that's what I worked out for myself. And then the next trip I did, 6 months in 6 countries. That was too much. I wouldn't do that now. So
Right.
you learn by doing. And listen, I just did the French Riviera in a week, and that wasn't enough time. So I'm going back on the way back to get my flight from Paris. I'm going to stop in again for 6 nights because that wasn't enough time. I
Right.
fell in love with it. It was really fun and I needed more time. So I would say, okay, getting back to the time, I think you need at least a week
Mm.
to kind of dip your toes in and see what
In
you
a single place. In
in a
one
single
place.
place.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. And then once you get that 1 week, but you have to like just be there, right?
Yeah.
You don't spend the entire time, on this tour or that tour doing this museum or that museum. It's like ding, 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 ding. You have to spend some time to just basically be,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. You absolutely have to because then you start seeing your neighborhood, and my neighborhood's amazing. I can't even
Mm,
believe, like, I wake up here and it's so stunningly gorgeous. It's like a fairy tale. Walking around looking at the architecture. I mean, people say, "Oh, is 2 days or 3 days enough in Syracuse?" And I'm like, "I'm here a month, and it's not enough time." You can't really see it all, but
so yeah,
okay,
so
if you only have.
1 week is your basic minimum.
Yes, I would say definitely do a week because I think I learned that when I landed in Kathmandu that first time. I was in Nepal only 3 weeks, and we did a lot of stuff, but I was there for 10 days in that city for the first time, and it wasn't enough time, but at least it was enough to start meeting people. And I had a project I was doing, so that helped a lot. My son was there. I mean, I just don't see how you can get any kind of an experience if you're only there for a couple of days. It's sort of like you're shortchanging yourself.
Yeah, yeah. You don't really understand what it's like without that.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
what other things should you do to sort of prepare yourself for getting into this?
Okay. Preparing yourself would be Uh, well, okay. You have to do a lot of research about where exactly it would be a good place for you to go. So, this is a whole big topic in itself because if you're alone, it's going to be different than if you're with somebody else because if you got to feel that you're going to go to this place and you're going to be okay by yourself. So, you got
Hmm.
to do some research. So don't just, don't do what I did, go and be in India by yourself. I mean, I went with my son, but then we split up and went our separate ways. And boy, that was different. I got a lot more hassled without him because
Really
people thought he
interesting.
was my boyfriend.
Oh no.
Yeah. And
You got
so
so you got more hassle when he wasn't around, or less
a
hassle.
lot more hassle.
Mm,
And so that was something to take note of. So that made me get strong real fast. So I would recommend, Mexico, Europe, well, even Mexico, but definitely Europe because it's easy. After what I've been through in Asia, Central America, and South America, I have to say that I think Europe is easy and safe for solo travelers. So you've got to do that. You've got to do some research on where you're going
right.
and go into these Facebook groups and talk to people. But you can't listen to everything that you hear because I go in there and people are saying things that aren't true. And then they haven't even been there.
Well, it's true because you read it on the internet, right? That's basically the way it is.
Oh my gosh, right? And so people are following all of this stuff. Like I just saw this woman who's actually pretty well known. I won't say her name, but she's like, "Oh, don't go to the Amalfi Coast in winter. It's all shut." It's like, no, I've been there twice and it's wonderful. But
Mm,
okay, fine. Tell everybody not to go. But I would never go in the summer. It's wonderful in the winter. Yeah, things
Yeah.
are, some things are shut down, but
Things are quiet.
it's
Things are quieter. It's just
yeah.
like that anywhere in the world, really. Especially places that are very touristy, right? People go on
And,
vacation in the summertime.
and I gotta say, I want to put in a plug for going in winter to Europe because that's when there's not a lot of action, and then you can make some connections with local people. Like,
Mm,
I went to a restaurant the other night. I got to talk to the chef for a half an hour. He was serving me because there wasn't much business and it was a Friday night. And I had a delightful conversation with him. It was so great.
nice. In French.
No, he spoke perfect English because he worked in North Carolina before. Like, my whole family lives in North Carolina now. It was just amazing that
Nice.
that wouldn't happen in summer. He'd be busy in the back. He wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
talk to me. He was
Yeah.
recommending which wine, and it was delightful.
Yeah. So of all the continents, it sounds like what you're saying is Europe is the easiest one to start with, right? If
Definitely.
you're an American, probably American solo traveler who's thinking about going somewhere, except they don't
Yeah.
quite know where, you get the most bang for your buck by starting with somewhere in Europe.
That's what I can recommend based on my own experience in doing it and spending a lot of time in Asia, Central America, South America, all that. Europe is just so much easier. And then it's not the high prices that you get in summer. So if you go in winter, you can actually afford to have a richer experience and talk to real local people like I did, the other night and get a sense of like I was asking him everything,
Mm,
business, tourism, everything, where he grew up. He didn't grow up in Syracuse, but he grew up in another city on the north side, which I've been to. And I asked him what that was like, and you're going to have time to really interact with people.
so you really recommend going in the off season, like the real off
Yeah,
season, not in the shoulder season, but in the off season.
in the completely off season, because that was a Friday night and there was nobody else in there but me. And, in the summer, that place is going to be packed because it was really high quality. But yes, I do recommend that because then you can feel like, okay, I can do this trip and see what it's like and I can afford it and I don't have to be in all these crowds.
Well, that is the trick, right? I mean, I've been in places where it's super high season, in shoulder season or mid season, and then in low season, and it's a completely different vibe. Such a completely different vibe. It's unbelievable. And the crowds, you do not get the crowds in the low season. Absolutely.
I can't do the crowds.
Mm,
I get it's just I don't want to be around that many people. And then I got to start being worried about pickpockets and just scamming and stuff like that. I don't want to deal with it. And then
yeah.
I don't like standing in lines.
Mm.
I
Well,
just can't.
but there's also the opposite of the problem is that what if some people are expecting, because I know this is in Greece, right? The sun and sand, right? They're expecting sun, they're expecting sand, they're expecting beautiful weather, and you go in the off season and it's windy and cold, and they're like, "Oh,
Well,
this is not what I signed up for."
okay, I got to tell you though, there's a sweet spot month, and you remember I was telling
Oh,
you it's
you're gonna give us
between.
a secret?
Yeah,
Let me write this down.
here's a secret. Write it down. It's March in the
March,
Mediterranean.
March in the Mediterranean. Okay, better
Yeah,
write that down.
I'm
So
telling you,
everybody,
I all
fire up your flight apps.
I'm telling
Mary's gonna
you,
give us some dates.
this is forget April because it's already. I've talked to all these people too, and see, I always leave either at the end of March or the beginning of April, and the weather is perfect.
Mm,
I've been getting in the water.
really?
Okay, it's cold. Yeah, I'm getting in the water like all through March.
In the Mediterranean.
Yeah,
Wow. You
yeah.
are you're like a polar bear. How do you do that?
Well, I don't go like swimming for half an hour. I go in, I dunk, and then I, flail around a little bit. But it's so energizing, and I even record myself sometimes because I want to believe that I did
I
it.
did see a couple shorts of you doing that. I'm like, oh my God, he's insane.
It's so energizing. Really, it's wonderful. And the thing is, it's not that cold. So it can go up. So in March, it can go up to all the way up to 70.
Wow.
That's not like every day, but it's more like between 60 and 70 in March. And then in February, it's more like 50 to low 60s.
Right. So you suggest March is the best month to travel.
It really is.
Okay. So so it sounds like if I was to be a first timer on this, so as a solo
Hmm.
traveler, I would be
Yeah.
looking into Europe
Yes.
in March. And when you say
Yeah.
Europe, that's of course pretty broad. Or do you want to
Yeah.
narrow it down a little bit?
Yeah. I want to narrow it down to the Mediterranean countries and not see if, okay, you can look at the big ones like Florence and Rome and all that stuff,
Big
but
cities.
I would actually not. I'd seek out the like going to Sicily or going to the eastern side of Italy and Bari and Puglia and those
Sort of
places.
the southern parts of these countries, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not going to go to Tuscany or anything like that at that time a year.
Well, I wouldn't because I personally think it's already getting too busy.
Mm,
And
really? In
so,
March? Wow.
well, because Easter, see, Easter's a big thing here. Whoa.
Mm.
I mean, they had some things going on in Sheffield where I was last year that were like all of a sudden this big parade and these things being carried
Oh
on,
no,
you know,
crowds.
Jesus
Ah!
on right under my window. But it was okay because I have a penthouse apartment there. So I'm like
Ooh,
3 floors
nice.
up. So nobody's walking on my side. It was just like, what's going on out there? I had this beautiful view of these people carrying a Jesus statue. And I
Wow, that
mean,
must
it
have been
was
epic.
amazing.
I
It
love the
was
sound of that.
epic. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, should I go down there? I don't know. It looks pretty good from up here and drinking a glass of wine. I mean, things start happening
Yeah.
over Easter, and I've
Oh
talked to
yeah.
other
No, no, no.
business
I've been in
people.
Greece over Easter and it's been amazing. I mean, it hasn't been super warm. Bring a jacket, but it is amazing the
Well,
things you
it
see.
isn't, it's not super warm, but it's warm enough so that, you know, it gets pretty hot here in the summer. So
Mm,
maybe I was thinking about what you said, and I looked at Greece and Italy and the difference, and I think it's farther south here in Sicily
yeah.
than it is in
I think
Greece.
there's
So maybe,
something it is or it's something about the winds or something to do with that.
right. I think it might be a little warmer here.
So you're talking about money earlier,
Okay,
right? So
money.
I'm thinking about going to Europe. I'm thinking
Hmm.
about the Mediterranean. So
Okay.
Spain, France, Italy, Greece, right?
Yeah.
That sort of,
And-
and then so, but and it's off season, so it's a little cheaper. What kind
Yeah.
of budget should I be thinking about?
Okay. You know what? I was looking on Booking because I was trying to help a friend of mine in Switzerland find a place. And I was seeing for a month-long stay in different places in Sicily, um, between like 1,200 and 1,600 for the month US.
Wow. So that's basically
Which,
the same price as say a flight would be.
see,
So a
that's
flight,
really, that's good.
yeah, that's really reasonable. It's not $500 a night.
It's not $500 a night, which is what we pay
Hmm.
in California. So you're not paying that. So so you get that. Now, see what I'm finding though is it's starting to change a little bit, and the people I'm renting from in the north part of Sicily are telling me that March is starting to be busier.
Oh no.
And so I'm like, oh, am I gonna have to find a new continent? I mean, this is not good news for me. I mean, we're still, keeping it the same price. But in terms of money, um, you're gonna get a better deal if you do the month long. You're not gonna
Right,
end up paying as much.
right.
And so, okay, so that's what we're looking at there. And then if you're cooking your own food, like, I mean, I still go out, but I don't go out that much because I really enjoy cooking in my own kitchen and the
Hmm.
fresh food and the fresh everything
Yeah.
is so fun. And so I
Mm.
haven't been I did a budget the other day and I think the whole time, okay. The whole time I'm going to be here, including flights, is going to be about 2,000 a month
Wow.
USD. Yeah,
Wow.
with cooking most of my meals. But see,
That's
I didn't
cheaper than my mortgage.
see what I'm saying. It's cheaper than working in California. That's
That's
the
like it,
shocking
does
thing.
that include so it includes your stay, includes food and everything else that you're going to do? So
Yeah,
and flight? So that
and the
includes everything.
flight.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So
And
for my
you're in Italy.
and I'm in Italy, which is the best thing you could possibly do for yourself is be in Italy. I mean, honestly, it's just such a great place to be. I mean, I know it'd be different if you lived here full time. There's, like I was in the store the other day and I met someone else speaking English and she said, "Oh, your shoes, they're Hoka's. You can't get Hoka's here."
Yeah.
Those are the only kind of shoes I can wear. If you want those, you got to
Yeah.
go
Same with
back.
my
They don't
wife. She only
see.
wears Hakas too.
Yeah, I'd rather do that than have foot
Well, I
surgery.
have
So
ons. I have ons and she has Hakas. So we go to Greece. They're looking at us going, "You can't get those here. They're too expensive." I'm like, "Oh boy. Look out."
that's funny. She said
So that's
Amazon doesn't come here.
it doesn't? It doesn't
That's
come
what
to
she
Siracusa?
said. Yeah, she said it doesn't come here. I mean, she just came from Albania for 12 months. So she must, I don't know. I mean, that's what she
Do they have
said.
Amazon in Albania? There's
You
another
know, I didn't
country.
I didn't ask her, but she was there. That is an easier place to get a visa, Albania. That's what she
Mm.
said.
But you don't need a visa for just a month, right? You can travel for a month. You can be there for a month. And
Right. Yeah. You
so
get 90 days as US citizens.
so you say booking is the best place to look. And so when you're looking through these
Okay.
listings,
Yeah.
what should you be on the lookout for?
Okay. All right. This is a whole thing in itself. Okay.
I have a
I'm
feeling we're going to be doing
finding,
multiple shows about these things. You're just
well,
this is the taste part. This is the like I'm only staying in a place for 2 days. Let's go to the next thing.
it's so different. Okay. This has been my strategy. I have signed up for places for only a week and then I come back the next year and stay longer because
Hmm.
some of these places are not good enough for a month. So if you were going to jump in and do a month, you've got to be super savvy about it. And here's what you got to do. You got to look at all the reviews, every single one. I don't care if there's 2,000 of them. You got to read them all. And then
Wow.
the good thing is because way down, there's going to be some bad ones. You
But wait a
want to
second, wait a
read
second.
those.
Let's go back to something you just said. You said
Okay.
I started by going for a week. And now we're telling people to go for a month. So maybe people should start going for just a week to see what it's
Well,
like or
I think you're okay. If you have the time to do it that way, I recommend try it out, try somewhere for a week because if you try it for a month and you get in some bad situation, it's harder, it's going to be something to try and get out of and deal with and stuff. So that's what I've been doing.
well, it's
Now,
conceivable. How about uh if I want to go for a month but I won't stay in one place for a week? Does that
yeah,
make sense to
I
move
it
around from
totally
week to week?
yes.
Okay.
I have done that. And then said, "Oh, I could actually some of the places I've been like, "Oh, can I stay longer? Is there anybody coming after?" So that worked out. And then I
Right.
got to know owners and stuff. So you never know. So I ended up staying longer than a week when I found something I liked where there
Did,
wasn't a dog
did,
barking or
did you pre-book those other places then you had to cancel? I'm assuming.
no, that's when I was totally doing it on the lam
Oh, okay.
and just going, okay, I'm going to book this place for a week and then I'll see what I think. And then if I like it, I'll stay longer. So I know that's harder for people to do to not have something booked, but it's not as hard if it's in the off season because you're going to find something that's pretty
Right.
decent
It's not going
and
to
an
be difficult.
affordable.
Yeah.
It's not going to be difficult.
And then we were saying, what if it also depends on what the individual wants to do, right? I mean, we're trying to get people away from the whole taste thing, but I think it's really difficult for people to go, I am going to go to Italy, I'm going to go to some remote village, and I'm going to stay there for a month because
Yeah.
they're like, I'm not going to be able to see Florence, Rome, Venice, any of the big places that I want to see, so they can go back and tell their friends, I've been to this place and this place and this place, because that's one of the main reasons some people travel, right? But this is not the reason why you're traveling. You're traveling because you want to find a place to work from, right? And to be in, not
See, it's
just
different. Yeah.
yeah.
It's different when you think of it that way, because I've actually gone to all those places before, and I would say, hey, great, go to all those places.
Yeah.
But what I found was, okay, the last time I stayed in Rome, I stayed, and I've done this twice. I stayed a week, and then another time I stayed 2 weeks in an
Hmm.
apartment in the same place. I don't think I could really live in Rome, but 2 weeks is a good amount of time to be in an apartment in Rome and do all the stuff that you want to do in Rome.
Yeah,
Same
that's
with,
still a lot longer than typical individual would go for a day or two. And they go, oh, I can do Rome in 2 days. And I'm like, no, you can't.
you can't. Now, what you could do with Rome, though, is be there for a week or two and then take side trips to Florence. You can jump on the fast train and be in Florence in an hour and a half. You can do all these other things around Rome.
But I think
So,
the draw for people, if it's a first trip somewhere, their draw would be to go to all those places, right?
yeah.
So it's
Okay.
really
Well,
difficult for them to stay away from places like that.
I don't think you can. I think you have to do that, and that's why you have to have a longer trip, because you probably do want to go to those places and spend not enough time in each of them. but but then you're
Get it
gonna
out of your
want,
system. Get it out.
yeah, you're gonna. Okay, so for example, I hadn't been in Europe in several years, and I was like, I need to go back, so I booked. I think it was 12 nights in an apartment in Florence in the center. This is when I got back to traveling to Europe. This was, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago. I had the best time. I met people. I have a friend who I met at that time that she's meeting me in Sicily. She lives in Florence. Like, I think you have to go to those places, but if you're looking for a place where you're going to eventually live, it might be Rome, it might be Florence. I
Mhm.
mean, you got
If you're
to
a big city
try it
kind of
out.
person,
Yeah.
but I think what you're saying is that you need at least a week in these places. So your perfect first trip to Italy would be something like pick the 5 city or the 3 cities, the 2 or 3 cities that you want to go to, spend at least a week in each of those cities, then spend some time outside of those cities.
Yes, definitely. And you can take the train, everything's connected. You don't even have to rent a car. So,
Yeah.
you're going to have a wonderful time doing that.
So when you're there, I know this is the
Yeah,
big problem I have, is that how can you work when
that's a
you're
problem.
traveling? That has
I
nothing to do
know.
with the topic of the show, but it's like I would think that somebody would be thinking, especially if they have a remote job or they're like a somebody who can work from anywhere. It's like
Yeah.
the moment I get to these places, I have a really
Yeah.
tough time opening. Like I'm surrounded by all this beauty. I'm surrounded by
Hmm.
all these things I want to do. I'm surrounded by a million gelato places I want to try.
Yeah.
Yet I have to open my laptop and do something. How do
Yeah,
you
that's
get
it's
over that?
rough. I'm still working on it. I I
19 years later.
19 years later, I'm still, because here's the thing. My traveling has evolved over time to be a different thing than it was when I started. So I think of each trip as being really different.
Mm,
And so now what I'm learning is, okay, I like being in one place for at least a month, because, all the times where I've been traveling a lot, I get too tired. It's too exhausting. It's fun, and I do
mm,
see a lot, but those are sort of like exploratory trips. I see that as. But the thing is, this is my third time in Syracuse. So I've seen a lot of this stuff, but I'm still like every single day is
oh
like,
yeah,
I
it's
need to
something
go
new.
to the gelato place right now. I need to go to the farmer's market, which is right down the street. When is that restaurant that's my favorite? Isn't even open yet. It's probably going to open in a week.
Yeah.
Love that family. I know their names. They remember me. I mean, it's tough.
Mm.
It's tough. It really is. Okay, so one thing you can do is to get the stuff done that you need to absolutely positively do in the morning. Maybe let yourself have a walk around somewhere, get a coffee, just get outside and then come back and do your work. I mean, you have to figure out a way that it's going to work for you because if you're not working, this style of life isn't going to work for you. You got to make the money
You gotta, even though it doesn't cost a lot, you still have to make enough
to
to be
make
able to
it
get to your next
work.
trip. Right.
I mean, people are getting in touch with me for when I get back and setting stuff up. And,
Yeah.
I got to deal with it because I got to land and, unless I was totally 100% remote, which I'm working towards. But the thing is, you still have to monitor yourself. But, I've had my own business for 39 years. It's like, when push comes to shove, and I can really get distracted and put things off.
Mm.
But if it's really important, I'm going to do it and I'm going to get it done. And then I'm going to feel better. And then I'm going to feel happier about going out and playing.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff is shut down on Sunday. So that should be a day you should totally take off.
So it's a good day to things are shut down, so it's a good day to work. Is that what you're
Yeah, the
saying?
grocery
Yeah.
stores aren't even open on
What?
Sunday.
What's
Can
that
you
all about?
believe it? I know. I had to go to a bakery, thank God. I don't know if you know what arancini is. It's these rice
Oh,
balls.
I love those things. Oh my
Oh my
God, those are
God.
the best.
So I found they usually have them in
I could eat
bakeries.
it. I could have like a arancini only diet in
Yeah,
Italy.
yeah.
It's so good.
So
I'm
thank
sure it
God
doesn't cover all the food groups, but they're so good.
it covers enough. I had it with a salad and it was delicious. Now everything else was closed.
Yeah. Well, the salad offsets the fried part.
Yeah. Exactly. And I fried it up some more in the pan.
Man, those things are so good. Oh
Oh,
man, so so a month, multiple cities, and then it doesn't cost as much as you think because you're doing it in the off season.
yeah.
And what else? What else should I think about? So I'm doing a lot of, you have to do a lot of research ahead of time. It's probably a good idea if it's the first time you've done it to book everything ahead of time, right? So don't wing it like you did.
Yeah, I would book everything just to be safe. I mean, I haven't always done it that way. Like as the years go by, I'm doing it more
Hmm.
because in Europe now what I'm doing is I'm finding places that I particularly like and I know the
Right.
neighborhood and I know the people and I want to be in those
Yeah.
places.
Yeah, but that's because you've experienced that and you've been there. So for other people, they would need to do the same thing for themselves to decide whether they want to,
Yes, that's a good
if they're a
point.
city
They have to
person, they
get.
might want to find a place in Rome or somewhere else.
Oh, another thing I wanted to mention about when you look at these places on Booking is try to make contact with the owner and see how they respond
Mm,
because a lot of people don't care. And so if you ask a question and they get back to you, because they should get back to you, then you're going to find out how involved they are. And that's going to raise that apartment up significantly because they actually communicate when you have a problem. Because problems do happen. Like the person that owns this apartment is absolutely amazing. And
mm.
I found that out last year when I rented the apartment for 2 nights. But she's got a 9.7 rating on Booking.
Yeah. But that's not,
So
you
she
have to look at the
cares.
reviews too, and you do have to communicate. I think communicating ahead of time is super important because I think a lot of people just look at it and they go, wow, great ratings, great bookings. They hardly ever look at anything and then they just book. And then when they go, they can't get in touch with anybody. If something goes wrong, it's terrible. You have to build that rapport, that communication ahead of time. Otherwise, you have no idea what it's like really, or what the
You have
people are
no
like.
idea. And if they don't answer, then that's not a good sign.
Yeah. So what else would you say you need to prepare for? So you're looking through, you're deciding where to go, you're looking
Oh,
through all this stuff. What else do you need to know? What else do
okay.
you need to prepare
So
for?
for Europe, you're going to be thinking about transportation.
Hmm.
and whether these places, okay, so this is a big one. Are you
Okay.
going to be in the center? I'm always in the center.
Right.
I've booked enough times years and years ago where I was way the hell out on the edge
That's
of
important.
wherever.
That's super important to
That
be in the
is so
center.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to know where it is. You want to look at that map. Where is this? Is it close to a metro? Is it close to how are you going to get around? Is it close to the train station? So here's a point that a lot of people don't know. Uber is not in Italy or Sicily. So they charge more for
No.
taxis
You're kidding me.
than we pay in California.
Wow.
Yeah.
You see,
So,
that is something that people forget because this happened to my son. He found a perfect place in Paris. He goes, "This
okay.
is the perfect place in Paris," but it was
What
40 minutes
happened?
away from anything. It's
But
like
how did he
40.
get around? Was he able to take the metro?
He was able
No.
to take the metro, but it took 40 minutes to an hour to get anywhere. And it's like you might have find a nice inexpensive place, but if it's so far away from where you want to be and what you want to do, then I mean, if you just want to stay at home and work, that's one thing. But if you
Yeah.
actually want to go see things and experience, then it's really important to find a place that has good transportation options.
Yeah, and so you know what my friend taught me this from Florence is to stay near train stations and
Mm.
I get people online going, "Oh, but that's not a good neighborhood," or
Yeah, they're
it's
kind of
like,
sketchy. It's kind of sketchy around train stations, isn't it?
often it's okay. Like if you look at the train station, you're going to see okay, the sketchiest one is in Rome, but
Yes, that's a
you
very
know
sketchy
what?
station.
It's a sketchy one, but if you look carefully, you're going to see a lot of local people.
Mm,
So if it's okay for the local people, then it's okay for you.
right. Oh, you mean on the reviews?
Well, I mean, just in regards to the fact that there's local people there taking that train
Oh, right.
and
Yep.
they're going to that train station quite often. They're even going to restaurants in that neighborhood.
No, but if I was at here and I was looking at booking.com and I wanted a place in Rome,
Yeah.
how would I be able to tell that something near the train station was decent?
Okay. So this is and I've stayed the last two times by the train station. It was only 2 blocks away. And you have to look on the map and
Hmm.
see how close it is. How many steps are you going to have to take from the actual front door of the main station to get
Yeah.
to that hotel? And if it's, 2 blocks, what's going to happen? I mean, yeah, I mean, it was dark and there it looked like there was some sketchy people around. But you know what? I liked it so much, I ended up staying there longer.
Really?
I had only booked a couple of nights. I thought, well, I don't know what this is going to be like. And I liked it. Like it was
Mm.
close to everything. I could I could walk all the way to the Vatican. Okay, it was a long
Well,
walk,
I mean,
but
it's a long walk, but it wasn't so bad
it
from
was
there.
fine. It was just you're going through all these beautiful neighborhoods. I mean, it worked out so well that for the price, I think it was only like 55 US for this
Yeah.
big room and a nice bed and I was so happy that I could just like come directly from the airport
Yeah.
to my hotel, take
Yeah.
the Leonardo Express. So, this is where a lot of people get scammed at the airport in Italy
Yes.
because there's no Uber. And one of my students who I was on a retreat, she ended up paying $200 because she
Oh
thought
my
that's
God.
what it
That's
cost. I felt
awful.
so bad for her. But because she just didn't know.
Yeah,
And
they really get
so
you on. You have to be very careful when it comes to transportation. I think that's something that people forget about. But the location where your place is really important and how you get
it's
to it and how its proximity to other places.
So you got to think about all that, just what you said.
Yeah.
So you want to map all that out. I mean, see if you can get the Paris Metro, any of these things, these maps,
Yeah.
because
But
they
Google
might.
Maps is your friend, right? I mean, it can tell you exactly how long it'll take to go from this place to this place and steps and all of that good stuff, right?
Well, that is good as long as you have Wi-Fi.
Well, oh,
So
that's the
there's
other thing I wanted to ask about because this is a huge thing, right? A
huge.
lot of these, a lot of people need to work.
Yeah.
right? So they need internet.
Yeah.
How can you be 100% sure that wherever you're going to stay has enough internet for you to work?
Well, okay, see, that's the thing. Here's how you can try to do it. You can actually ask them for the upload. People are getting more savvy about that, but
Right.
other places, like when I was in Thailand, they'd be like, oh, yeah, the Wi Fi works great. It wouldn't. And then I would be stuck
Yeah.
with crappy because I had signed up
Yeah.
for a whole month. And oh man, I got told that Wi Fi was good so often when it
Right.
wasn't in
But
Chiang Mai, which you thought, oh, I can trust these people. No.
yeah.
So,
How do you get
you
around
know
that?
what?
Did you just go to a local cafe or what did you end up doing?
Yeah, what I ended up doing, yeah, I did end up going to this place that had really good Wi-Fi that I could walk to. So it wasn't a total bust. And I liked going to that place. But, I would have preferred to be in my own. Like if I tried to upload a YouTube video, it would take 4 hours.
Oh, geez. That's not
Forget
going to work
Zoom
for
calls.
anybody.
Yeah, that's not going to work. So, okay, so that's a big issue. And I haven't played with all of those eSIMs and all Aerola and all that stuff. I've just been using Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi here is exceptionally good. And that's another reason I've tried out apartments first because now I'm relying on Zoom
But there's
more.
really
And
no independent way of figuring out how good Wi-Fi is at a place other than looking at the reviews and maybe talking to the owner, right?
there kind of isn't. And so that would be a question you'd ask the owner,
Right.
not saying you're going to get the perfect answer, but
Mm-hmm.
to ask and, have it be an issue. Because, like, I was going to go to this place in Bordeaux, and I ended up not going because of some things that changed. Anyway, they had had a lot of bad reviews, but their customer service was very good. They
Mm,
answered me all the time. Every time I wrote a message, they would answer. I was kind of sad I wasn't going to go, but it didn't work out for going back to
mm,
Paris.
mm.
But they, I asked them about the Wi-Fi and they answered, and who knows if they were saying, the right thing, but I was impressed with the customer service they were giving me, answering every single message. For a
Right.
hotel, I think that's pretty good.
Right. So you've got your where you're going, you've got your place to stay, you're checking
Yeah.
out your Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you have to have make sure all your technology is up to snuff, right?
Yep.
What else? What else do you think people need to think about before they go?
Well, you want to think about how you're going to stay in touch with people back home.
Oh, what do you
If
mean,
your work
technology wise? It's like,
technology, because everybody's really different.
yeah.
That and then the whole work thing, how that's going to work, how you're going to be, that's a huge thing to
Mm,
just kind of muddle in your head about. Like, it's the Wi-Fi, it's the who you're communicating with. I mean,
yeah.
that's pretty personal for everybody. But I think with all of that, oh, well, the last thing is your flight to get over here. That's a
Hmm.
whole nother thing to deal with.
And is there any tips on that that
Yes,
are
I
important? Okay.
yes, I do have a tip on that. So I've done it a lot of different ways, but my latest way to do it is to take French B direct from San Francisco. It lands in Paris. There's no stopping, no layover, no nothing.
Hmm.
You're just on there for 10 and a half
And
hours. Okay.
that gets you to this pretty much the center of Europe,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
French
And boom,
B. I've never heard of
French
them. Are they
B.
just like a inexpensive French airline? It's a
Yeah. I think Air France owns them. But food's pretty good.
hmm.
I did get my flight canceled, and this is
Uh-oh.
like the fifth time I took, but they are going to pay for my hotel and my taxi, but that took a lot of fighting.
Oh man.
But anyway, I mean, it was ridiculous. I almost was like, I don't think I can recommend you guys, but honestly, okay, so here's my tip. Whatever you can do to get a direct flight from a major hub airport just to get yourself over to Europe and not have to deal with all these getting off, getting on. I can't stand that. I just, it's just, I don't like it. I don't want to
So
do it
take a direct flight to anywhere in Europe, is what you're saying.
anywhere.
Right.
And then you could spend a few days, like land, spend a few days there. I didn't used to do it this way, and I just would arrive completely a wreck. And so,
Right.
Paris is fun for a couple of days. Yeah, I know it's higher price, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing is that I think people look for the cheapest thing to do, but I think the biggest problem is just getting to Europe quickly.
Yeah,
But once you're in Europe, travel within Europe is a lot easier.
it's so easy with the
So
train.
just find a spot to drop. And I think Paris is probably the most central of the
Oh,
locations,
it's
right?
got everything. There's like
Hmm.
5 train stations.
Yeah.
So my thing to do this time was I did the Orly Airport, get there. I know how to get to the hotel where I'm staying at that's right next to the train station. Then I'm going to take to Nice in a couple of days. So all I got to do is roll down the street. I don't even have to take a taxi. I can
Nice.
just walk and I get on the train. It's crazy at the train station. They're even announcing, watch out for pickpockets.
Well, people should always have like the protective gear too, right? I mean, the pickpocket proof purses and bags and stuff like that, right? I mean, that's something that should be normal for people, right?
Well, it's something to think of, especially when you're by yourself and you're a little bit sleepy and it's still dark out.
Mm,
You do have to just be aware of your surroundings and looking, behind you. And yeah,
just
that's a thing.
be observant. You have to be more observant than you would normally be, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, if you're okay with all of that, then you can take the trains. I mean, it's not like it's totally easy, but once you're on the train, you found your seat, you booked it ahead of time, you just can sit there for 5 hours and you get there and you're in Nice. I mean, how
Yeah.
wonderful is that?
You can even work if you want to, if you feel
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah. You could. It's very pleasant. Some of them had brought their dogs. You can have your dog on the train.
Dogs are everywhere now.
It's
I remember,
amazing.
I remember in Greece where dogs were nowhere and people were just like, "Oh, they're for the farm, right? You need that for to get rid of critters or to corral sheep."
That's
And now
funny.
dogs are everywhere.
Good. I like to see it. I was wishing I had my dog.
Awesome. So would you say how like let's go back to the budget for a second there. So
Okay.
would you say for a month in France or a month in Europe, or a month in the Mediterranean in the
Yeah.
off season,
In the off
two
season.
grand would
Yeah, for
be a
sure.
reasonable budget. So
It's a
I mean that should be
reasonable
enough for
budget.
anybody to swing, right? I mean if it's an
Yeah.
entire month
Yeah.
in a place.
Yeah. I mean, you just have to be careful about your lodging in the right neighborhood and be very careful. Do your research with the flights.
Hmm.
And you can actually pay far less than you think. And this was a big shock to me too, because I hadn't been traveling to Europe until like 2018. I'd only gone, I think, once or twice. Yeah, before that, I'd only been twice, and I didn't know all this stuff.
Mm,
So when I went in the winter, not the spring, this all was like it was like going to a different continent because the prices were different and you really could spend less money than you would in summer, like when everybody
right.
wants to go May, June, July.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's when
And it's actually
everybody's going.
it's probably easier to work too. So if you are a digital nomad and you have work to do at the same time, it's probably less distracting in the wintertime as well.
I
Right.
think so. Because, like
Mm,
yesterday it rained all day. Well, there's nowhere to go. I mean, you could go out. There'd be some places that would be open, but I mean, why not just get your work done? It's not like it's sunny.
yeah. Yeah.
What you're
You're
not
still
missing.
eating good food, you're still surrounded by good people, you're still having fun, but you're just doing it somewhere else where you can be more, like be more of
Yeah,
yourself. It's great.
exactly. Yeah. Like now I'm excited to see the same people I get the oranges from and the persimmons at the market. Oh my God, this market is so great.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. Well, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much. And well, see you next time.
Yeah,
Enjoy
great. This
yourself.
was fun.
Are you going to be in Syracuse next time as well?
Yeah,
You're still
I'll
going to be
still
there
be
for a while?
here.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, see you then.
Yeah,
Thank you so
this
much.
was fun. Bye,
Talk to you
Chris.
later. Bye.
Bye bye.